maybe. So, how can we work on the development of economy? And I want to repeat that it helps to link your notes and your thinking to this drawing. Step 1, mobilizing domestic resources for development. And then the question is, tell me resources, tell me domestic resources. So step 1 of the recipe, and what are then domestic resources? Know your neighbor? Okay, let's develop an idea. So what could resources be? What does the word resource mean? Before we discuss different resources. Neighbor? Yes, neighbor, what else? Yeah, neighbor? Human resources. Still waiting for one more keyword, yes?
Money in general.
Money. Okay. So if we look at the money first, because money is a very easy resource, because you can make it useful for most maximum of purposes possible. And so oil you can make sort of gasoline, this is a sort of one-way street. And coffee you can make coffee. When you, let's start with the money. Where is the money in a economy? Who wants to get the pointer? So point me where, so the red button. So where's the money in the local economy? Yeah, can you point at it? Is it that right? Yeah.
There?
There. Explain, is right?
Well, the money is in the household because they get the money from the firms out of the world. They also get wages, interest, from the government. But at the same time, it's a cycle because the money goes to pay taxes, and then the taxes go to, in cases of goods and services, to the government tax.
Okay, so households, and if the question is, we use that money to invest in new entrepreneurial initiatives, so not consumptive, so not to buy a Gucci bag, but to invest in new entrepreneurial initiatives that will further develop, and so it will boost growth. What is then the role of the household?
Well, the only investment is wages.
Yes, so
Like they get the payment from the work, and then instead of buying or spending that money on consuming certain products, they have invested money.
yes, and what role do you have if you invest in a company?
You are a stakeholder.
Stakeholder or
Shareholder.
shareholder? And so the role of shareholdership is then the thing we talk about in the first instance. And you can become shareholder in two ways. One, you can be literally a person online who buys shares with your savings, or you can, and that is, the moment you leave €1 on a saving account, then the bank makes it work in enterprise, either through purchasing of shares or issuing loans. So all of you are directly or at least indirectly mobilizing somewhere down the year, because you're not always in the minus on your bank account. I hope at least one day a month, that's sort of this. At that moment, that money is used to foster entrepreneurial activity. So that's one. If there's no saving at all, that's difficult to do. That's one source. What's the other source? If we look at the firms, how does development of a firm work technically?
I think also foreign direct.
No. We are in mobilizing domestic resources. So no international stuff yet. So what is the mechanism with which companies foster their growth and further development? Yeah, so the going concern, daily business is money in, money out, goods in, goods out. But if the firms are addressed to mobilize their resources for development, meaning that they have to grow and expand with entrepreneurial initiative. How does that work? Yes?
By foreign direct investment?
No. We stay within the country. We stay within the country. Yes? Labor. Okay. But let's do the parallel with the household. So if a firm has savings, so the profits, what are the two goals of the profit? So you can invest it or? No, that's the same.
Dividends or share.
Or you give it to the shareholder. And who decides?
Yes, the shareholders.
The shareholders. Introductory course, corporate law, year 1. Shareholders have the right to determine the annual account, taking all the profit out or leaving profit inside, and decide therewith what the dividends are. And if there are dividends, you're back at the household. And they can invest it again. So if you divide the profits to shareholders, it's national savings again and can be used for entrepreneurial initiative. And if you leave money in the firm, then the firm could purchase the next firm, like Albert Heijn purchasing bol.com, and expand their business. And then to a lesser extent, the government could use taxes to start entrepreneurial initiative. But the idea is that governments are not the best entrepreneurs. And that comes because sort of the conservative nature of decision making in public organs, which we like. So that no sort of hasty decisions are made. Okay, let's build a viaduct or a hospital down here. That needs considerations. Where entrepreneurs, business people, can decide on the spot, in the middle of the night. Let's buy this company or something like that. And so the idea is that households and firms are the best drivers in the story of mobilizing domestic resources for development. To a lesser extent, the government.
Maybe a bit of an ideal question, but domestic resources, would that be a possibility to tackle capitalism, global capitalism?
Well, the question is whether that would tackle global capitalism. I would say this is within a capitalist theory. This is in the theory that a economy, if you think away this, is self-sufficient and able to grow and expand. Because you can, through efficiency and innovation, have your wealth grow.
But then your wealth in your city, by example, if you're just focusing on your neighborhood in your city and you have small entrepreneurship, that you have a store that sells coffee, just the coffee and the milkman and become such a huge global changing entity that makes people want more and more products that are made globally instead of domestic.
Yeah, and so no one is against the possible outcome that chapter 1 of the recipe, being mobilizing domestic resources, will be so successful in the end that we do not need the rest. And so there's no international rule that says there should be international investments or trade or something like that. The reason to put mobilizing domestic resources for development first is obvious, because who better than the own households and the firms are able to determine what is possible in the local economy and what are the challenges, what are the solutions to be created, and so forth. Chapter 2 of the recipe is then the mobilizing international private sources for development. And there we distinguish between foreign direct investment and other private funds. And foreign direct investment is a specific definition. That is a foreign firm that has a long-term investment in a host economy with management involvement, so that foreign managers are on site, living in the firm, and for long term, let's say 5 years plus, are involved in setting up that entrepreneurial initiative. Be it an electricity plant, be it a hospital, be it a big farm, be it any other economic activity. No. Because it's in your reading. And all the non-FDI is called other private funds. And then you have to think of people who purchase shares. So you and me purchasing shares in a firm in South Africa, Nigeria, Brazil, staying home, selling or buying the shares online and selling it 2 weeks later. That is also private funds going to that country, but that is not foreign direct investment. So that is lacking the D. That is sort of distant investment. And why is in the world of development the FDI the most important? Because with that direct investment and involvement, the know-how and the funds that are paid to the manager on site, and let's say the commitment is much better and bigger and more helpful than if you send some money from abroad. So not only is foreign direct investment bringing money into the economy, we learned that that is a key aspect of kick-starting an economy, but it also brings in all the sort of skills, attitudes, traditions of those firms that invest. And then we talk about, for instance, Heineken, a Dutch firm having 70% of the beer market in Nigeria, with 56 breweries, with 56 brewer managers trained here in Amsterdam to make the best beer, and then helping the local staff to further develop it. How could you make, from a local perspective, from a local state perspective, the FDI work best. So what measures could you take as a local government to capitalize on the FDI? So let's do a little exercise. Please write down 3 measures as a state you could take to make FDI work best for your local economy. So the role play, you're in the government. Please write down 3 measures. Let's make FDI work for your economy. 40 seconds. Ten more seconds. Okay, let's see what you got. Your first measure. Okay, we get the attention. So from your own notes to solution number 1 over here.
Accessible market and less bureaucracy. Because if you want a foreign investment directly in your economy, you have to make the bureaucracy less used.
Yeah, and then bureaucracy. Could you give me a sort of example where a FDI investor would need bureaucracy, which you could then tackle?
Going to different agencies of the government.
To do what?
To invest and have a business here.
To establish a business,
Yeah, to establish.
for instance. So a measure could be take away all the bureaucracy connected to the first step, being in the host economy, establishing your business. Good example. Yes? Yes. Second measure.
Faster.
Say that again.
I will continue her point by saying giving the permits on a track, like advanced track record. So you just give all the permits at once.
Exactly.
And I would say tax exemptions for the investment and a specific amount of time for the investor to recuperate faster to his investment.
So we have bureaucracy, licenses, and tax incentives, sort of tax holiday that for a while you seduce the investor to come to your country and not to your neighboring country with this incentive of taxes. A third method. Yes?
I would make it harder to establish business.
Okay, so we have an alternative plan to make it harder to do business. Could you explain that?
Not to do this, to establish business.
Oh, to establish one.
Otherwise, your question was how would you make foreign investments work for your economy?
Exactly.
Now, if only foreigners own every business in your economy, it's not working.
Okay, so in technical sense, how would that sound, that sort of arrangement? And I'm not saying that I disagree, because maybe it's a good incentive.
It would be easier to make it easy to invest in already established businesses.
Exactly. So already established businesses should then be sort of favored. So you could have a sort of legal framework that says if you want to invest in a sort of transportation company, please look for an existing one first before you are allowed to open your own one. Could be a measure.
I just want to ask if
Questions on that? Yes?
If that happens, then how exactly, because otherwise you're just a shareholder, because if it's already established, then it's not exactly FDI, is it?
Okay, so we're in the parliament of this country, and this question is then referred back to the initiative taker of the role. So how would you tackle her problem?
Because if it's because if the company is already established, then the person investing will just be a shareholder, and it's not necessarily FDI then.